Hey, welcome again. This is Our Ventura. I'm MB Hanrahan, and today I'm speaking with my very good friend and a mentor, may I say, Paul Lindhard. Hello.
Nice to be with you.
Right on. Okay, so quickly, if anyone has never been to Art City, I'm going to introduce you as the founder and director of Art City and president and one of the co-founders of the Buenaventura Artists Union and Gallery. Paul has created, let's see, locally, the Ojai Gateway, which is, you see driving into Ojai. There's a Patriot Peace Portal in the Moorpark Mall. You could see the Cemetery Park Veterans Memorial, where it was mostly a placement of rocks, not so much carving. And the Welcome to Ventura Gateway, which you see. But right now, today, what you're working on, and what people will see, is a project called Dos Metates, which is going to go in, eventually, to our Ventura Museum, Ventura County Art and History Museum. Paul, how is it that you came to Ventura, briefly?
I was teaching at Santa Barbara City College, and I lost my studio, which had a huge amount of stuff. And I started looking around, and Ventura was not very flattering exactly, but it was the closest, it was the only place I could afford to move to with as much stuff as I had, 10 semi-loads of material and whatnot.
So Art City is on the edge of town now, and so it was like in Goleta and then, or Santa Barbara, Goleta, Ventura, something like that?
That's how it worked.
Perfect. And I want you to describe this current project for the museum, Dos Metates. What does that mean?
Dos Metates has to do with the grinding stones, mortar and pestle arrangements that the Chumash used for their staple foods. And you can find them up in the mountains. They were found on land that were previously inhabited by the Chumash. The specimens are in the Art and History Museum, and the prehistory seems as important a part of the actual history of Ventura. To me, it's closer to the earth. And so the project evolved because my project with the city got put into Mission Park, which is a city park, and it will backdrop the museum and its new expansion.
Thank you.
And so it felt like a good fit, site-specific consciousness for the history part of the art and history. And then the art part is the fanciful notion that these Dos Metates were from a giant race. Okay. They're way outsized.
May I say, I was fortunate enough yesterday to witness with my own eyes the delivery and placement, temporary placement of at least 2 giant rocks. And we're talking, what, 30-ton rocks, at least one of them.
One's 30 tons and one is 18 tons.
So these are indeed giant rocks, and they'll be put in a placement. So you're not carving these rocks.
Very little.
Okay.
Very little.
In following your work, you're a master carver. But also with the cemetery project, and then with this project as well, the Dos Metates, it seems to be more of a feel for placing rocks with minimal changing of the rocks themselves, except for to maybe so they don't fall over or something like that to pin them. Can you talk a little bit about where you're at with going from carving to this more minimal but kind of almost an installation approach to rocks?
Well, it's at least twofold. What's evolved for me is, one, to become a stone carver, I initially had to go get the stones. I had to find them where they were for free, get them from a cemetery someplace where they were replacing them. And then when I went to quarries, the finest stones in a quarry were usually out of my fiscal reach. I could buy the rubble, and what I was good at was high grading what was left of material that was a part of harvesting tenderloins only.
Right.
And those stones usually have a lot more character. They have the character of the wilderness that the stone came from, a spot, a location, that I go to and hang out, sometimes for 2 weeks at the end of a dirt road 40 miles from any civilization. So when I'm in those situations, it's the landscape, the texture of the place that speak to me, that have informed my work. And for the last couple of decades, without too many exceptions, I leave a bit of that voice to help explain why I made that object out of this stone I found. So initially I was still, making things that came out of my head entirely, and as things evolved, the stones came from a fabulous landscape that seemed more important than my thoughts. It, in fact, consumed my thoughts and my image making, so that I wanted to honor kind of my experience at that site with the material, which then I show in a gallery or a museum, or now more and more my work is going into landscapes. I do a lot of public art, so that's in a landscape. It's an outdoor arrangement without too many exceptions. And I've gotten to work with some really great landscape people who have made the landscape and placement and kind of a vision of a whole site more the way I want to stage my pieces than working in a gallery.
It's perfect that you say the word staging, because again, I have to emphasize that when visitors come to Art City, and it's an education that way, because many times the public is almost just coming from a consumer mentality or whatever, looking at discrete little pieces of art and thinking, how much does it cost? And then, can I put it on that table over there? Or how big of a pedestal do I need to, can I afford to put in my house to showcase this carving? And not to diminish carvings or diminish, what is it? Was it Michelangelo? To see the form within the block of rock. They're like, oh, it was already there, I'm just letting it go. It seems almost that you're being more of a translator of what is there, and by continuing on with this vision, helping people to have more of an appreciation for the rock as such.
Yeah,
Not that it has to be one way or the other way, but it is one way. It's not just take this as that rocks are a raw material to be manipulated that way.
It's more that kind of working for the stones kind of mentality that has evolved in my work. A lot of times, I've moved these stones, I've collected them sometimes 3, 4, 5 days to get one rock, bring it back to my yard. I live with it for years until I feel like I really got the integrated notion of, it's a highfalutin way to think about it, but what the rock maybe had in mind for me to do versus what I end up doing with the stone. Now I'm the human being here, and the one that moves around and goes and shows it in a gallery or does this sort of process that for the stone probably is a very artificial arrangement. And it's funny that for myself it's kind of evolved that way. So the staging of this project for the museum with these 2 huge stones drove me to lease another property, 7,500 feet of space, and then to kind of, it just evolved this way to end up generating a sculpture park that gives people the sense of how these sculptures belong in a park, how these stones that are already sculpturally magnificent can speak for themselves without me having worked on them at all at this point, just by being isolated enough so that people can see them in a space. So I'm moving to landscape the place and make it kind of cool, and it's Art City's and Ventura's little sculpture park.
As you were speaking, I just really haven't ever thought of that kind of sculpture and in relating it to abstract art, but you are actually abstracting them and creating the environment to hold the pieces so that people can properly appreciate them.
Yeah.
Because you speak stone and many people don't. But okay, so full disclosure, I moved to Ventura pretty much because of Art City when I was introduced to it, and had the complete pleasure and fortune to hang out at Art City for quite a few years, and even though not being primarily a stone sculptor, to be, in a way, mentored by you. So I just have to say, how do you communicate your obvious sustained vision, despite when you do have money or don't have money, or the green light or not. How do you communicate that quality of sustaining your vision to follow through on a project to the people that they come and work for you or come and work around you? You know, what's your word to these artists coming up?
Part of what's compelling is to have the environment be kind of fun and stimulating. And you know, I have 20 artists in my studio, 9 or 10 people there every day, all day long, all working in very, very different ways. It's extremely stimulating for each of us to kind of get to feed off of each other. We amazingly have very little ego friction on the property, which is fantastic because it's not all that common among artists, and artists who are the head of their own ship, the captain of their own boat. But our city works that way, and I think it's largely because of the volume and the nature of the stone, nature being an important word there, and the qualities that my partner Russell brings to bear on everything we do in the studio. He is the most we can do that, can-do-it person that ever lived. And so our studio has become the little studio that pretty much can do anything. It's exciting, it's energizing.
I can vouch for that. And equanimity, yes, rare in the art world, but a quality definitely to be supported and hopefully sustained. I want to let people know how they can come visit. So you're open Wednesday through Sunday. Is it 10 to 5 or?
10 to 5. We're usually there till dark.
Yes, which changes.
It does change. It changes a lot. And we're additionally there on Monday and Tuesday, but we take those days to deliver. With 20 artists in the yard, there's always someone working there, and they're, for the most part, friendly and able to help people understand what's going on in the yard.
So the yard, it's located 197 Dubber Street in Westside Ventura, and artcitystudios.com. Is that about right? www.
ArtCityStudios at artcitystudios.com.
There we go. So I would encourage people to check out the art. And as an artist in the community, I want to say thank you, Paul. I could talk to you much longer than this, and I probably will talk to you after the show again. But we're grateful. I speak for myself and many others that, for the people that you helped bring up, and also for what you've done for the city of Ventura. And that's it. Wow. Okay, so once again, thank you for joining us on Our Ventura. Paul Lindhard, thanks again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Emily.